Okay, welcome back to my video tour of an example course that I developed for Canvas. This is a project that I started in a course for Penn State that I was doing to get a certificate in e-learning design. In some of the earlier videos, I looked at an overview of the course, overall learning goals, the welcome modules up here, and lessons 1 and 2. Today we're sitting right in the middle of that course, and we're going to take a look at lesson 3, and then in the last 2 videos we'll look at lessons 4 and 5. So for now, as you can see, this kind of has an overall look similar to some of the other lessons if you've watched other videos, in that we have our learning objectives at the beginning, an introduction piece, some of the actual content of the lesson in separate pages just to kind of not have any walls of text and kind of break out specific topics to people. So here, this is actually, I think, our lesson with the most individual pages. There was a lot of information in this lesson. A page for the assignments just to review, all the reading that they should do and videos and links that they should access. There's a quiz for the content, and then there's a discussion assignment at the very end of the lesson. So let's jump in here and start looking at all of the individual pages. So in the last 2 lessons, we looked at, it was kind of about climate change overall and how all of that works. So what are the impacts of climate change? What are the causes? And now we're getting into our energy conservation piece, which I will try to say conservation and not conversation, and what that can entail. So that part of the course is divided into kind of what agencies and governmental policies can do for the problem of climate change. And then in the next lesson, we'll be looking at, what can we do in terms of our personal energy use, unplugging unused devices, the right light bulbs to use, stuff like that. But for this topic, it's all about, what are group level solutions for climate change? So that is the first learning objective. And then we are going to have objectives about define and describe key concepts related to energy conservation and group level solutions, to identify key organizations in energy conservation that can be useful, and then to describe and explain how to become involved in group level solutions for climate change. What are some organizations that you can join or volunteer for or access, etc. So moving right along, we'll click our little next button here. And then here we have kind of our introduction page, which again talks about solutions for climate change. It has some key terms bolded just to emphasize them to the learner, and often definitions for this will show up in the flashcard set on cram.com as well as in the quiz. And then here, this kind of reviews, how this information is broken down overall. For this, I kind of use the UNEP, has these 6 sectors known as the 6 that identifies areas of industry and policy that can greatly affect the climate change situation. I did put energy and industry kind of together in the pages, but they are kind of separated in the UNEP. So over the next few pages, each of these sectors will kind of be looked at in more detail. So moving along, we have the energy and industry page. Here it has information specific to energy and industry. You can see I have, again, the bolded terms and also some pictures just to kind of give the eye something to look at. All of the pictures throughout this course have alt text, and it's also all sourced. So it's all copyright-free images from unsplash.com. And in the alt text, you can find a description of the image for accessibility purposes and also sourcing to the uploader on unsplash.com. So also, for each of these pages, you'll notice that it talks a little bit about how this industry is contributing to climate change, and then what are the specific solutions that can be taken to kind of help with that. So that can be something that can be used later, for example, in generating a petition or writing a letter, etc. So here we have agriculture. Again, we kind of have some use of things to kind of liven up the text, some pictures, bolded terms, some bullet points. I thought carefully about what was written here. There's also external links that people can access to kind of obtain more information, although I was very careful that for the flashcard sets and the quizzes, all the information should be found in either a main reading on the assignments page or written in the content text of the lesson. So here again, there's information on how the agriculture industry contributes to climate change, and then what some of the solutions might be. Same kind of idea here with nature-based solutions. So this, as you can see, is kind of a straightforward one. We're looking at deforestation and reforestation primarily. There's some of this stuff has been really taken briefly. So here we have about transportation and clean mobility. This is a 1-credit course based on the prompt, so it's not meant to be a 3-credit course. So the information is not as detailed. It's just 5 lessons, and all of the information, does have some detailed usefulness to it, but at the same time, it's meant to be mostly a broad overview and not a deep dive. Although in some of the assignments, the learners have the opportunity to do more of a deep dive on a topic. And here we have our last little page here, all about carbon neutral building codes. So I learned a lot through this project. I learned a lot of ideas and things that people are trying to do that I had no idea about. Here in the assignments page, there are a lot of different resources that were found. For this lesson in particular, there is websites that people can explore that has a lot of information. And of course, there's the flashcard set. The flashcard set should kind of deal with all the information, and especially those bolded terms that were earlier in the lesson. Here we have the quiz, and the quiz will be mostly multiple choice and then some true and false, I believe. And I think, not sure about in this quiz, but in quiz 3, I know there's a couple matching questions as well. But I believe that's not the case for quiz number 2. So we're going to go ahead now to our last page in this lesson, which is the discussion. So again, these discussion pieces are kind of being used more to scaffold and kind of socially link people together about their final project. Again, if they want to at some point in this course turn their final project into a group project, that is totally acceptable, and to some point will hopefully happen for some of the learners. Here, they're being asked to think pretty concretely at this point about what they want to do for their final project. And this assignment not only will help them, start to think more concretely, because in a few weeks it will be due, but also it's going to allow them to get feedback about what they plan to do from other learners and also from the class instructor as well. So for example, if someone is maybe either trying to take on a project that's going to be way too much work for them, or if it is maybe a project that doesn't represent a substantial effort, this is an opportunity for them to start to get some feedback about that. Or if they're maybe planning to do something that people feel is not that useful, this is the point where they can discuss it, they can share ideas. At the same time, I imagine if I was a learner taking this course and I didn't really know about the topic beforehand, I might have some ideas, or I might not have some ideas, and I might have some trouble thinking of ideas. And when I've been in situations kind of similar to this in classes, what has been really helpful to me is to be able to know what other learners plan to do and have been found acceptable to do. So I would find an assignment like this for me kind of helpful, because I might get ideas like, oh, this person's going to write those petitions. Well, maybe I can write a petition about this. Just an idea, a way for people to share ideas at this stage of the process. Because in real life, that's kind of how we are creative. We share ideas amongst each other. Okay, so I believe that does it for lesson 3. Thank you so much for joining me in this little video tour of lesson 3. In the next couple lessons, we'll look at lesson 4 and then lesson 5, which will probably be a shorter video, because as you can see, lesson 5 is a shorter lesson in terms of Canvas pages, although it could represent a substantial effort and time commitment for the learners, especially if they haven't been taking advantage of how the project has been scaffolded. So thank you so much for your time and attention today. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.